All right, positive energy all the time. We are here again for part three of vegetarian and vegan history. And it's taken me a little bit of thinking to try to put my particular journey into context and to kind of not so much talk about, what I was doing specifically, but what the social atmosphere was like, what the environment was like. So we started with 1978 when I first began to change into a vegetarian. Before I knew what a vegan was, everything was vegetarian back then. And now we're at around 19, we're around, uh, yeah, 1991. So we are from 1978 to 19, well, 80. How about I say 90? So we're around 1980, 81, 1980, 1981, somewhere in there, right? As I go through the journey, all the way up till now. And so, yeah, we're ending the 80s, the 70s, and we're headed into the 80s. And by this time, I am a full fledged vegetarian. And I have decided to move to California. And so, as I moved to California, we're looking at 1981, 82, those years right there. And veganism is still growing. This is a booklet that came out in 1982. This also was a Vegetarian Times magazine that came out in 82. And I'm in Los Angeles. Now, one of the interesting things about being a plant based is that your shopping changes as you live in different locations. So, the food that I was kind of used to getting in Chicago, now that I'm in Los Angeles, uh, my shopping is changing. The things I'm eating are changing because typically when you go to the markets are totally different depending on where you live. And I had met a young lady out there, and we became a couple. And she was African American and Mexican. She was African American and Mexican. And in LA, there's a lot of, at that time, there was a lot of um, Mexican influence when it comes to eating. And I got my dreadlocks. I started growing my dreadlocks dealing with Egypt. And then that morphed into me dealing with Egypt and Ethiopia and being like a Egyptian Rasta. And so when I got to California, also with the warm weather, reggae was huge. And there was reggae here, and I was involved in reggae in Chicago, but I became more involved because there was more reggae and more rosters in California. So now, I'm introduced even more heavily to the concept of ITAL. And ITAL is a term that rosters would use, and they would say ITAL is vital. ITAL is vitality. And ITAL was basically plant based, fruits and vegetables. ITAL. So it was the way you cooked. So now I am around a strong ITAL vegetarian vibration and a Hispanic fruit and vegetable situation, and in a warm climate California situation, because California has its own uh, differences when it comes to eating plant based, because it's a warm climate. And by being a warm climate, there's a lot of food that grows in California. So the difference is in Chicago, I'm eating a lot of food from the South, right? Because the Great Migration, many of them came from Alabama, Mississippi, and to Chicago. And so did the trucks constantly come to bring the food. So in Chicago, it's collard greens, mustard greens, cabbage, black eyed peas, string beans, corn on the cob. And now I'm in California, and it's more beans and rice and tortillas. And what I loved about California is the absolute fresh tortillas. It's something that I couldn't even begin to tell you how amazing that was. Imagine going in a grocery store and you're in the bread aisle and you go to the end and there's tortillas, right? In the aisle. And when you grab the tortillas, it's steam in the bag and the tortillas are warm, freshly made. It was incredible. I don't know what's going on in LA now, but in 81, 82, and on, they would make these fresh tortillas, I think right in the back of the grocery stores, and put them on the shelf hot. It's the most amazing thing. And the bag is not laying on the tortillas, the bag is puffy with steam in it. So when you go home and you make up your beans and vegetables and put in a tortilla, it's so fresh. You could taste the corn and everything in the tortilla. The tortilla is extremely soft. It hasn't hardened up, because after a while, the tortillas become more harder. They still move around. They're not stiff, but they kind of more solidify, settles like a cake. When you make a cake and how it is when you first take it out the oven and how after it sits the next day or whatever, it's settled. So it's a whole different texture to it. So now in California in 1981, 82, you're getting fresh tortillas. And the amazing thing, they had different types. They had two types. They had one type had a whole bunch of ingredients in it. Then they had the other type, and all it had was corn, lime, and water, which is amazing. So it's just nothing but corn, lime, and water. That's the three ingredients in a tortilla to make the tortillas, and that would be on the bag. And you go, wow, it can't get no more healthier than this. So, uh, being a plant-based vegan that was originally a vegetarian, moving changes your eating habits naturally. So if you move from here to there, you will naturally eat differently. You will frequent different restaurants who also cook different meals, and you will be exposed to different fresh vegetables on the shelves depending on what part of the country you live in. So if you live in New York, you're getting things that you can't get in Chicago because you're on the coast and the ships are coming in. So you could probably get sour sop, a whole sour sop in New York, that you can't get here. You can get lots of coconuts, fresh coconuts still in the green cover in New York. You can't really get those here. And so as you move, your availability to eat plant-based adapts. You have to change up. You have to change up depending on where you live at. So living in Los Angeles, California, now you're exposed to a lot of uh, vegetables and fruits from California and from Mexico. So it's more, right? And that was interesting. So at that point in my life, I'm going even heavier into making my own milk. At that time, they didn't have plant based milk in the store. So we made our own plant based milk. And being around a lot of rosters, we were making our own plant based milks. And what you would do is get almonds and soak them until the brown cover comes off of them and they look like this. And then you would blend them up and add a little water, a little more water. You add a little water as you go so you won't have just parts of the almonds just floating around. You want to make sure they get grounded up great. So you put a little bit of water and a little bit of more water till it first makes like a thick cream. And now the blade and the blender can really beat them up good. And then you keep adding water. And then we would sweeten it with dates. We would sweeten it with dates. And the big thing that I was around some brethren that they used to use was black sesame seeds. So here you see Los Angeles in the background. You see the black sesame seeds to your right. You see the dates in the middle. And you see the old school 1980, 81 blender. And so we would blend up the almonds, and then we put some dates in there, and we would put some black sesame seeds in there. So it was an almond milk with black sesame seeds added, and dates. And this is what we used to do practically every morning. And this is how we got our nutrition. At the time I was living back and forth, I would go stay with some brethren sometime to hang out, to sell incense, some brethren by the name of the King's Chamber, headed up by Brother OG. Salute to Brother OG. So Brother OG would be the man to make the milk every day for all the brethren. It'd be anywhere from 5 to 9 of us there in the morning. And you can hear the blender just going. And the black sesame seeds was very, very nutritious with the almonds. Very nutritious. And so if you get a chance, go to Amazon and order you some black sesame seeds. You'll be very glad you did. Okay? It will help give you some serious nutrition. It's something that I don't think this particular younger generation is doing that. So just a word to the wise, to you all, get you some black sesame street seeds and increase the amount of nutrients that you're getting in your food. Expand what you're getting in your food. Okay? Make sure that you're getting a lot of variety in your food. You can't just consume the same thing. Variety is the spice of life. So one of the things you definitely want is variety. For sure. And you can get those on Amazon. Because you want to stay healthy. So you want to run many, many things through your body. So go to Amazon. It's going to get big old bag like this from this company of black sesame seeds and blend them up. If you don't want to struggle with blending them up in your blender, get a coffee bean grinder, and blend them up in there first and then dump them in your milk. Make a powder out of them and that. Then you don't have to worry about the blender. If you don't have a really good blender to really blend them up good, pre-blend them up in a coffee grinder and then put them in the milk. And that way you will 100% already have turned it into a powder. This is the coffee grinder I'll be using. So if I want to make a powder, I make a powder first. That way I don't have to worry about bits of it floating around in my blender. I'll make the powder in here, then put it in the blender. Now the blender can, blend it in and make the milk. And so we were heavily doing nut milks. This is Vegetarian and Vegan History 101. And there was no plant milks in the store yet. And I don't even think there might have been some soy milk in the box on the shelves. But, people at that time, we really wasn't buying that much stuff out of the health food store. We would just go to the juice bar, and it was just very few items did they have available in 1980, 1981, 82 compared to nowadays? So there wasn't a lot of items. So for us to survive, we had to make everything ourselves a lot of times. And so this was the era of iTile getting bigger, reggae's getting bigger, and uh, you know, uh, vegetarianism and iTile and the whole Rasta plant-based movement, along with the U.S. vegetarian movement, was really, really getting big. And one of the main things in California at the time was the corn tortillas was a big part of the culture when you start thinking about the West Coast. And with the Rasta, then there was the Ital from the Rasta brethren, and that was a lot of food cooked in coconut milk, grate up coconut milk, and that was stuff like different vegetables typically than white or black Americans would consume. So instead of like collard greens or mustard greens, it was like callaloo, callaloo, aki, which is a plant from Jamaica. It seems like it almost have like the consistency of like a scrambled egg if you scramble it really well. Aki, callaloo, of course, beans and rice was big. So it was a lot of Rastas in California. There was a lot of Rastas everywhere, really, in 80, 81. Real Rasta, not, uh, the watered down versions you see today. No, it was serious Rasta. Um, had to pretty much conduct itself a certain way because there was a lot of elders. And so you was around a lot of people that grind up their coconut themselves and cook from scratch. And so in California, you got the Rasta Ital. Then you got all this fresh Mexican uh, uh, vegetables and things. And then you have the typical vegetarian working its way towards vegan things. So it was a wide variety there, and there were way more vegetarians in California because it was the land of modeling. And a lot of the models were vegetarians in the early 80s. Okay. Some models, when they got up in the morning, all they drank was some water and eat an apple or two, and then go do their job and then eat after. So they were very big on salads, apples, real light things that won't get them bloated for their photo shoots. And so I used to go to a vegan burger spot called Orion's. It was a African American brother that had a burger stand, and he made breakfast and then his regular meal. So he would have breakfast, then he would have his regular menu. And for breakfast, he would have like burritos and things like that. And then his regular meals, he had like an Orient burger and stuff like that. And in that vegetarian fast food joint, even though it was fast food, it was Whole Foods fast food because he made it himself. So it was processed, but it was processed right there. It wasn't pre-processed. In other words, he made the patty himself. He made the buns himself. So it was like still fresh. And there would be a lot of models in there, right? A lot of models in California. And a lot of people was really watching their weight. There was still the remnants of the hippies out there. So with the remnants of the hippies and the Rasta culture out there, and the culture of the brethren and sisters from India, the Sikhs, and the brothers and sisters from India, and a lot of Asians that were also vegetarian, like Thailand, which is a huge vegetarian headquarters, a vegan in Thailand still today. It's like probably the number one vegan destination in the world. A lot of vegans just go to Thailand just to experience, just vegan ice cream shops and vegan donut shops and vegan all type of food, just you name it. It's like probably the number one vegan place. India was vegetarian, but now India is going vegan. So India is pushing away from vegetarian and going more vegan. But Thailand is still far ahead of them. And so being in California at that time with the Rasta culture, the Indian culture, the Thai people there, all the fresh fruit from Mexico, and then all of the conscious brothers like Nation of Islam and Rastas and all that, and just tip and models. And then veganism was just huge, right? I haven't interviewed Dr. Milton Mills, but I am going to interview him. This is a new channel, so thank you for joining, Angela. But this is a brand new channel. We're just getting off the ground. But yes, I do plan to interview all of the plant-based doctors and everybody. As a matter of fact, I haven't had any interview yet. I'm going to have my first interview tonight over here at 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. I will be interviewing the comfortable vegan. And that's my first interview. I was trying to wait till I get more of a crowd over here before I bring over some of the more famous plant-based doctors. So I just want to build a channel up before I bring them over. But yeah, I will be bringing them all over. And so in 81, that's what the vibe was. The vibe was, ITAL, uh, heavy vegetarian. Vegan still wasn't a popular word in 80, 81. So nobody was still using vegan, but reggae was big. I went to this show out there, Jimmy Cliff and Peter Tosh. And so ITAL was big, vegetarian was big. All that was big. Now, one of the most amazing things about Los Angeles was the avocados. Los Angeles had, and I'm not sure if they still got all those trees, had a very large variety of avocados. Very large. Incredibly large, to be honest with you. And some of the brothers would go out early that we live with, and they would take shopping baskets, and they would come back with shopping baskets full of avocados. This is the Haas avocado that they got out there. Then they got the Pinkerton avocado out there. And these are just growing everywhere. People got them in their yards, and they be falling, and people take them and put them on buckets and sit them outside the fence for people to come and get them because they can't eat all those avocados. This is back in 81. So there was an avocado heaven in Los Angeles. This is the Rincon avocado. And so anytime you could get 4, 5, 6 different types of avocado in Los Angeles in 1981. So, of course, with the tortillas being fresh, One of the main courses was avocados on tortillas with, sprouts and onions and all the garnishes to make like a raw uh, burrito, basically, raw taco, basically, because it wouldn't be I think a burrito. Well, yeah, I guess you could call it. I don't know what you would call it, but it would basically be just some raw food wrapped in a fresh, uncooked tortilla. And they had many, many types. They had the Reed avocado, which is a big old round one. Shout out to everybody out in Leimert Park, where we would go out to Leimert Park for festivals. So avocado was a staple during that period in my life. And so that's one of the many ways how I adjusted how I was eating. And this is like the basic information on early vegetarianism before it was called veganism across the country. And now I'm telling you what it was like in Los Angeles, California, San Diego, San Juan Capistrano, Ventura, that whole area. This is what the vibes was like. And avocado was king to plant based eating at that time. It was growing all across the country. Avocado sandwiches was a staple for vegans and vegetarians. And so was nut milk. So nut milks, making your own almond milk or any other almond was really the most popular, but we would, like I said, add black sesame seeds, or we'd make pecan milk or walnut milk. But almond was the staple. And almond milk and avocados and burritos, I would say, were pretty much rule the day all across the country in the early 80s, 1980, 81, 82, 83. This is the basis of plant based eating in the early 80s. All right. So that's it for that section. When I do part 4, I will be in Hawaii. And so I'm separating it because I don't want to confuse it. And I pretty much covered everything we was eating in California in the early 80s. But I left California in 83 and moved to Hawaii. So that's going to be part 4. And part 4 of vegetarian and vegan history is going to be interesting again because now I'm around a whole new lifestyle of plenty of food on trees and also again different types of food that you couldn't get in Los Angeles. All right. So whatever you do, eat right, take care of yourself, go on your plant-based journey. You have a much easier time to go plant-based. Make sure you exercise, work out. You can't just eat right. If you're transitioning, take advantage of all the transitional foods. Don't let nobody tell you not to. Take advantage of the burgers and the sausages and the spaghetti and all of the processed plant-based foods. Use those to transition. Don't let nobody tell you anything different. Use them to transition. Don't worry about getting addicted to them. You won't. Naturally, people will not keep eating the same thing over and over again. But to get off of the basic processed food, use the plant based vegan processed food to get off of the other stuff, okay?